Hi, this is Matt.Swisshelm with the Inspire Real Estate team at Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate, and I am extremely fortunate to be sitting here with John Setko from Amerispec Home Inspection, and they've allowed us to come in and ask a couple of questions just to get better informed about what the whole home inspection process is and how we can benefit from it. So, go on and I guess introduce yourself, kind of your backstory a little bit.
Yeah, my name is John Setko, like Matt was saying, with Amerispec, inspector here in Omaha. Been doing inspections for about 2 years now. Prior to my inspection life, I was a certified public accountant here in Omaha. Did that for about 5 years, and I also spent 4 years with Kiewit Financial Company doing some financial statement reporting for them, among other things. So glad to join the Amerispec team in 2016 rather. So excited to be here.
Cool. Well, again, thank you so much for letting me come in and talk to you and kind of just setting this whole thing up. Initially, I know I've had my fair share of home inspections. I just come in, we walk upstairs. You guys are usually in the kitchen. I mean, I don't know what about kitchens it is, mostly probably because of all the plugins and everything, but you're usually in there. I walk in and we just kind of have a normal casual dialogue, but typically you work with home buyers.
Correct.
So when the home buyer comes in, what does that initial conversation usually look like with them?
Yeah, so we like to be just upfront with them. We want to introduce ourselves, get to know them on a more personal level, and then kind of go into what the home inspection is about. So our introduction talks about, and it's really done at the walkthrough. So the buyer shows up, either at the walkthrough or shortly before, and that's kind of where we kick off the initial meeting with those buyers. So the walkthrough process kind of goes through what the binder is, what they receive at the end of their inspection, and then we do the actual walkthrough, taking them around the house, showing them the significant deficiencies of the home, talking to them about certain recommendations and suggestions that we think are prudent to continue the life of the home, keep it up with the success that it's currently having. So a lot of that goes into that walkthrough process. It's really informative in nature. It's also very informal. We like to have, not a business type setting, but it needs to be kind of fun and interactive with the buyer and us. So we definitely don't want to come off as an alarmist. We just want to give them the most information that we can.
Yeah, I understand that, because I know I've been through a couple of them where it's like, you guys unfortunately leave and we're sitting there talking afterwards and like, is the house going to fall down on top of my head? Right. No, that's not the case. And that's just a testament to how good you guys are at going in and taking a look at everything that could possibly go wrong with a home. So kind of going a little bit more in detail on that, what does a typical home inspection entail? Where do you guys start, and how do you kind of finish that?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, we get there, we typically set up in the kitchen. It's just a central part of the house. From there, each inspector kind of does things differently. Most inspectors will start doing all the plumbing related things first.
Okay.
Test all the plumbing, and then kind of go throughout the various locations of the home as far as bedrooms, kitchens, dining rooms, living rooms. Then most inspectors will typically test, HVAC related equipment, go through all that sort of processes, do definitive tests with that equipment, and kind of define their opinion of the systems and components. So really the intent is to perform those tests on normal operating procedures of each of those components of the home to arrive at an opinion. Now, a lot of that goes into a lot of work. Most inspections are anywhere from 2 to 3 hours long, and it just kind of gives us a good example of how things are tested.
Okay, and it's all done in the same day. So you guys show up 2 to 3 hours before the home buyer and myself as the agent show up to do that final walkthrough? Yep,
so typically those are either a morning walkthrough or an afternoon walkthrough. Inspectors will get there between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. Your walkthrough might be at 11, and that's kind of when those findings are communicated to both you and the buyer.
Okay.
So it takes a little bit of time to go through all this stuff in the home, but we like to give ourselves ample time to make sure we are diligent in the things that we're testing.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. You don't want to miss anything.
Right.
So you were talking about how when you're actually doing the test, you kind of just test everything as it would normally be used in day-to-day life. So like filling up the tub and letting it drain and running
exactly.
things.
So part of the limitations to inspections are, we're testing each system and component using normal operating procedures. We're not going above and beyond. We're not tearing through walls. It's not technically an exhaustive inspection, but we're going to get to the most accessible locations that we can to do that. So attics, garages, exteriors, roofs when applicable, just to do full circle of what needs to be done with the house. So Each inspector is ASHI certified, the American Society of Home Inspectors. There are certain standards of practice that we do for each component of the home. All that stuff is documented and provided to the buyer in form of writing. So yeah, I can't just go into a house, look at a tub and say the tub's working. I've got to do certain things to test that
Okay.
tub.
Cool. Is there anything in the home that you don't actually test that is kind of out of bounds?
Some stuff in Omaha that we exclude from our inspection reports are going to be refrigerators.
Okay.
We're not licensed in refrigeration. However, we do I say like just a kind of a performance test on it real quick. We open up the door, we'll temperature gun the freezer side and then the refrigeration side to make sure they're within the acceptable ranges.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as testing, like if there was a ice maker in there, if there was a water spigot, we're not going to be testing those stuff just because. And most of the time we don't know if they're staying or going either.
Okay, fair enough.
A lot of that also goes to the washer and dryer. I don't have a load of laundry to bring in to test that washing machine or drying machine. And again, we don't know if those are staying or going either. So
Yeah.
we kind of exclude those three things from our normal home inspections. I know Lincoln does some things differently, but yeah, the washer, dryer, and refrigerator are the things that we do not do any tests.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So you show up, you do the home inspection, you walk through, you check everything from the basement through the attic, through the roof,
Yep.
walking on top of it.
Yep.
And you guys are taking pictures the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
time. And
Yep. Mainly the reason why we take inspection pictures is twofold. Really, I want to document the inspector's process, and then I also want to kind of benchmark the condition of today's home for you. So that way, when you guys move in, if there's something that looks strange, they might be able to go back to those pictures to see if something transpired from the date of our home inspection and the date they close and move into the home.
Okay.
So that way, it kind of gives them a little guidance on how that home was being treated those 60 or 90 days prior to them closing.
no, it makes absolute sense. We do the final walkthrough 3+ days
Yep.
before you walk through. If you start noticing something, you have all those picture references to go back and verify, see if that's how it was when you first did
Yep.
the inspection. And you guys send that digitally, you send the full report.
Yep,
and
so even though we do give you and the buyer a written copy of the report and the summary, we also do email everything out to you. So you're gonna get a PDF copy of the report, the summary, and then a link to the 150 to 200 pictures that we take during the inspection.
Okay.
That usually typically comes either the night of or the morning after the inspection, depending on what time our server gets updated.
Okay, and you guys do radon testing as well?
We do radon testing, yes.
So can you kind of explain a little bit more of what radon testing is?
Yeah, so radon testing here, we have a continuous rate monitor which will, for a lack of better words, test the radon quality in the home at every hour of the day. So for a real estate transaction, a 48-hour minimum test is required to determine what the radon levels are. So our continuous rate monitor will give a readout in picocuries per liter, which is what radon is measured in. The EPA says if the picocuries per liter exceed or are at 4.0 or higher, we would recommend a mitigation system be installed.
Yep.
That mitigation system can actually create a suction point in the slab of your basement floor, draw up negative pressure through the assistance of a fan, either placed outside or in an attic, that draws up those radon decay products, which are harmful to you, and expel them to the exterior of the home. Typically, we can get the levels of radon below 2.0, which is it's a safe level. There are no acceptable levels of radon,
Yeah.
but it is not at the 4.0 number.
And for those that don't know what radon is, what exactly is that?
So radon is it's a noble gas found throughout the United States, more predominantly here throughout the Midwest. It has been linked to a leading cause of lung cancer, non-smoking related lung cancer. So it definitely is something that we like to see not be a part of any sort of home, so we like to try to mitigate and measure as much as we can.
Yep, yeah, and we follow the same principles. That's why we always request it on a home that doesn't have a radon mitigation system. We just kind of look at it like, okay, you're going to spend $100 on the radon test itself, but you test it the entire time you're living in the home. You're going to know that there isn't a radon issue. You've either got it mitigated because the initial test came back high, or it came back low and you don't really have to worry about it. It's also protection for you, because when you go to sell that home, the new buyer is most likely going to request that radon test. So you didn't pay the $100 up front when you bought the home, but you may be on the hook for the radon mitigation system when you go to sell it. So we just always recommend you get the test done.
Definitely not a cheap test or a cheap fix. Systems range from anywhere from $750 to $850 to install a proper radon mitigation system. So anything that you can do prior to the sale of your home and even at the time that you buy a home, to get that kind of taken care of is always advisable in my opinion.
Yeah. We follow those same kind of protocols. Are there anything that you can think of off the top of your head that is pretty consistent during home inspections, especially here in our area due to the weather or the climate?
The weather is a huge thing. You know, obviously Nebraska, spring and summertime bring tremendous amounts of rainfall. It could bring severe thunderstorms, including hail. So we track hail-related storms throughout Omaha to give our inspectors enough information as possible to know if the house they're inspecting potentially could have some hail damage or hail-related damage.
Mm-hmm.
We want that to be made very known to the buyer before they close on the house, because that is roofs, in my opinion, are a significant part of the transaction. The last thing that I would want to have happen is you move into your house, the buyer moves in, and the insurance company doesn't insure their roof.
Yep.
And that is what's keeping everything together, in my opinion. So those are the more frequent things. The weather-related soil conditions, you know, new homes in Omaha are, when they excavate, they're pulling dirt away 4 feet from the foundation on all 4 sides. That dirt has to be backfilled, at various times. If that backfill does not get properly done, there can be voids, low-lying areas around your foundation. Low-lying areas around foundations are susceptible to ponding water, where water will seep down to your foundation where you don't want it. So having good grading is really something we see quite a bit as far as the properties are concerned.
And unfortunately, grading is something that you do have to upkeep. It does go away over time.
Absolutely, it's a normal maintenance item. I mean, I've heard anywhere from 6 to 8 years until your house is properly backfilled or compacted down around the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously just, animals are outside. There's certain critters that like to make holes in things.
Mm-hmm.
Those holes can gather water. Water finds its way through wherever it wants to
Eventually
to get to where it should.
Yeah.
So definitely having that stuff all kind of in line is very beneficial to a good foundation, strong house.
Okay, and then you guys actually do a follow-up system now. The entire report gets put into that system, and then they get periodic updates.
Yep.
And reminders.
So one of the main things that Amerispec wants to hang its hat on right now, and I think is a very useful, very good product, is it's called the Digital Home Binder. Each buyer is going to get a link between 3 and 4 days after the inspection for this Digital Home Binder. What it is an online tool or portal for them to use to keep track of maintenance records they might do to the house, keep paint colors that they have for each room. I mean, it's a one-stop shop for basically what is in your home. Mm-hmm. Not only can they do that, they can install or add in service numbers, like make and model and serial number for their major appliances, so furnace, water heater, air conditioning unit. Mm-hmm. If there was ever a manufacturer recall from one of those units, they're going to get notified right away.
Yep.
Another really good useful thing is going to be our monthly maintenance reminders. So on a monthly basis, we have predetermined throughout the year what things we think are prudent to do during that month. So they're going to get an email notification in the summer that says, do an exterior review of your property. Make sure you don't see any cracks in siding. If you do see some of that stuff, go ahead and seal it up. A lot of good useful recommendations and suggestions are going to be provided throughout the year for our buyers. Mm-hmm. Really cool, useful thing for the agents. Those email reminders that are sent to the buyers do not come from Amerispec.
Yeah.
It's going to come from Matt.Swisshelm. It might have a little Amerispec logo at the bottom, but it's going to be your name in front of your buyers on a continuous basis throughout the year to keep your sphere of influence kind of nice and close to you. Mm-hmm. So we really think that that's a very exciting thing for Amerispec, doing a co-branding effort with our agents.
Yeah, so that's stellar. I'm really excited about that too. I know it's a new feature you guys brought.
Yeah, it just started at, we kind of had it out at the middle of 2017. Mm-hmm. January 1, 2018 is when we started the full co-branded side. So
okay.
We kind of had about a 6-month test period of it, and we had great reviews with it. So we have since launched that co-branded version almost last week.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say I hadn't heard about that before,
yep.
So that was new to me.
You'll see some more stuff coming out about that co-branded side of things in days to come. We're gonna have a nice kind of little intro to that. But it's the same home binder feature that you saw last year is basically just going to move into this. It's darn close to the same thing.
Okay, awesome. That's really good to know. So we've been focusing on buyers because that's mainly what you use them for. But I know sellers get pre-home inspections done as well.
Great question, yeah. So we call it a pre-sale inspection. What that entails is it's identical inspection to an actual buy-side transaction. It's just the report looks a little different. So you're not gonna see the verbiage in the report that says, suggest further review by a qualified contractor. It's gonna let you know, hey, leaking noted at the P-trap at the sink. So the pre-sale inspection on the seller side of it allows that seller to become familiar with those same significant deficiencies that we might tell the buyer of their house what they would like to get fixed. So it kind of keeps them, up front in the know with what's going on with their home in the event that they do have a transaction happen. And then if there is some things that they want to get fixed, they can usually typically fix those things for a much less cost than if it was going to be told to them to get fixed.
Yeah, they have their own time frame when they get things done, they can shop around.
It's not
get
so
more
rushed.
quotes.
Usually they can find a handyman that can do most of the work for them, so yeah, just a benefit on that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when you have your own punch list that you can just give them and get quotes on and everything.
Yep.
So, yeah, I just know most people when they think about home inspection, it's just the buyer, but it is a benefit to the sellers too. And it's really nice when you have that home inspection, you come in and you have this list of things that were wrong with it, and then you've got all these receipts from contractors stating that these were already fixed. I know it's a big piece of mind for new buyers when they walk in and see that.
It's always really good to see the seller put out, take this, put it out, put all the receipts out, show them, hey, we've done this, we've kind of gone through steps A, B, and C, we've remedied those things, here's how I want you to feel comfortable with our house. And
yeah.
I think it's a testament to the seller being active and stuff like that to really engage that buyer, and I think they kind of get a little closer relationship just because they know exactly what's going on with the house.
Yeah, it's a big difference between when you're told, I want you to fix this, so I'll buy your house, versus, hey, we already took care of these, so it's a peace of mind.
Yep.
Definitely. And I can tell the difference from when buyers walk through and they see that versus when there's a sense of uncertainty when they walk in and they have no clue and they just hope that everything turns out well during the home inspection. Which is kind of a neat segue into the next question I wanted to ask you is there anything that you wish buyers would know during that initial home inspection, because it's new to them?
Yep. I always like to tell people home inspections are not warranties. We cannot tell you how long your water heater is going to last for. We can only test that today and tell you and give you an opinion on how it functioned at the time of inspection.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to tell you, yeah, your water heater has another 40 days of life, it should be replaced. Hopefully there are things though, through my testing that I can get closer to an opinion that tells you not really the life of the product, but what to do to kind of maintain it to get a little bit longer life out of that product. So, like we kind of talked about before, inspections are not technically exhaustive. I'm not tearing through the walls of your house, but I'm going to get to the most accessible locations I can. And then finally, like I kind of mentioned before, we're all ASHI certified inspectors, so I think that provides a little bit higher value to our inspections, that we do certain standards of practice for each component of the home. All that stuff is actually documented and then provided to the client.
Which is fantastic, because I know I got a text last night from a past client asking me questions, and they're like, hey, I was looking in the home inspection report and I just wanted to know something about this. So it's great having that reference material, and then when you go to sell the home, it's additional reference material that you can refer back to filling out the seller's property condition disclosure, or especially when you're filling out insurance, because they have tons and tons of questions about the type of roof, type of exterior, things like that.
All that's going to be in there for them, yep.
Exactly. So it's great having that as a reference. Kind of drawing a blank on any more questions. I mean, is there anything more that you would like to?
No, I think that covers, in a nutshell, really what our inspection process is about. We look forward to working with you guys in the future, obviously, and appreciate your time and having to come out.
Yeah, I had a fantastic time. You answered all of my questions. The problem is that I go through these all the time, so I get not quite jaded to it, but I know what I expect, and so that does become an issue, because I always try to walk through them with open eyes as the buyer, because I know that they're hearing things that may freak them out a little bit, and it's my job to kind of navigate them through the report that they get.
That's kind of where I was, in the beginning we talked about, I don't want to be an alarmist.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that comes up on these significant deficiencies with home inspections we see them all the time. They're not life-threatening, they're not gonna, break the bank on anything, but there's stuff that should be done.
What does the whole actual walkthrough process look like for first-time home buyers, especially because they've never been through it before? I know it's a little bit different for someone who's bought multiple homes. They kind of walk through and they just want to know the condition of the home. But for the first-time home buyer, everything's new.
Yeah, first-time home buyers are actually fun for me when I do the walkthrough, because it's neat to show them everything that I can about the home. Home buying, owning a home is a very scary process for I think a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Hopefully what we can do is give them a peace of mind that it's not what people tell you about. It's not something that's going to be an issue in the future. But what we do is obviously our 400-point inspection goes through a multitude of areas. But that walkthrough, we spend 30 to 40 minutes with our buyers, really to show them kind of where the main things are at in the house. So water shutoffs, electrical disconnects, show them where thermostats are. People sometimes forget where their thermostat's at and all that sort of stuff. And then obviously we do much more, and we go through our process of testing plumbing fixtures, testing anything that we can, and kind of just show them kind of what those entail. So the walkthrough for a first-time home buyer, they get a lot of information thrown at them. The good thing is all the stuff that we talked about is already documented for them, so they don't have to retain the information, but it does give them a nice peace of mind to know where some of the stuff's at.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys don't just do the home itself. If it's a detached garage, you guys are going in there and checking that out too?
We are doing whatever's on the property, with the exception of like a shed.
Yeah.
But yeah, detached garages, anything outside, if it's got an outbuilding, obviously we're doing roofs, exteriors, and all that sort of stuff too. So, yep, whatever I can get my hands on, I'm going to test it.
Okay. I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover for just general Q&A and just surface level understanding of what a home inspection is, what it's going to benefit them for, and kind of what they can expect to get out of it. Is there anything that you can think of that you always want a potential home buyer or seller to know and understand about a home inspection when you leave?
That it's not, the home inspection process is not something they should be scared about. I mean, going into it, they should, if they're ordering the home inspection, they might have preconceived notions that the home needs some work. All the stuff that we tell them, while we say it's a big deal, there's things that should just be fixed, and in general, just maintenance-related items that come with owning a home. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Makes a ton of sense. Because I know on the real estate side, some agents kind of look at the home inspection as a hurdle to jump over. I actually I try not to think about it like that. I think of it more as less of an obstacle and more of an opportunity, because when you look at it like an obstacle, every single thing that gets requested on a repair is one issue you have to solve. But when it's an opportunity, you look at it, I get to do these things, and it makes a better home for
the next person coming in.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Two different ways of looking at it, but one is significantly more positive. But all right, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. If you have any questions, feel free. We're going to have his contact information, and for Amerispec, if you have any questions or are looking for any information, you're going to be able to get to it from their website, their contact us page, anything like that. If you have any questions for me, feel free to shoot me a Facebook message, send me an email, give me a call. Any way I can help, but have a great rest of the day.